we tried this in business a long time ago. We were the first New Age store in the world. We created it in Boulder, Colorado in 1973. We, with the crystals and the Birkenstocks and all this stuff that you see in these things. We just dreamed this up, and we sat in meditation. It was a group of about 13 or 14 people, and we said, okay, every person that comes in that door, we're going to see them as a sacred and holy person, and we will live it. And right underneath us was another store, which is an arts and crafts store that was on the ground, and we were on the second floor above them. And so everybody that came in, we trusted them 100%, no matter what they said. If they I'd write a check, but I lost my book or something, and here's whatever, something that normally they would say, no way. We wouldn't even look at their ID. We'd say, we believe you. And we would take it. And if they wanted to steal something, go ahead. We don't care. Steal it. It's yours anyway, because it's what's yours is mine. And we ran a store that way for almost 5 years. And it was very interesting because the store underneath us had about 10% of their stuff was stolen every month. And they had all these bounce checks and all this credit stuff. After 1 year, we had one thing stolen out of there, which was funny because we laughed for about a half an hour, and they stole a zafu, a meditation cushion. And we were thinking, wow, who would sit on a stolen zafu to study consciousness? And we never had a single bounce check, not one thing from nothing, no problems, nothing. They could have stolen everything in our store because we didn't even have any alarms or anything, and we never even tried to protect it. And after 5 years, we had no problems. And that's because, I believe, because we were coming from that place of in Lakesh, of understanding that was, and the person, and they feel it, they know it, and they don't want to hurt you, even though they may not know exactly. It's a vibration, and they can feel it. Yes. Definitely, you have to know the unity of reality, of the reality. That's where sacred geometry is so good, because if you really study sacred geometry, and you make the drawings and you understand what that is, what that does for sure is you can see that there's only one spirit that created this whole thing. That becomes real obvious in sacred geometry, because every single plant, there's so much we've learned since those books. It's like in the books, for example, we show that the size of the Earth and the size of the Moon is around the human body energetically, electromagnetically in the Mer-Ka-Ba field. That was written in there. And then, of course, that makes you wonder, well, is it in the rest of the solar system? Is it in everything? Or is it just those two things? Was it just a coincidence? Well, there was a guy in England, I won't say his name because he doesn't want to be known anymore, but he wrote a book, and the book was, there's only 1,000 copies in the world, and he decided he didn't want to be famous, so we're honoring that. And but the book is amazing. He took a computer in England, and he put all known sacred geometry into that computer. And then he took, from NASA, he took all known planetary, or not planetary, but solar system relationships. The size of all the moons, the size of all the planets, the orbits around the sun, the maximum, minimum, and mean orbits around the sun, the orbits of the moons, etc., and all these things, and put that in there, and then push the button and said, okay, is there any sacred relationship? What came out of that was astounding, and I never have really written about it, but every single size of every planet and every moon is in sacred relationship to each other, and it's almost perfect. It's average of 99.9% perfect. And but these relationships are constantly changing. The size of the Earth is constantly changing. The orbit around the sun is constantly changing. And so that you wouldn't expect them to be fixed. They would have to be moving exactly the same for them to be fixed. Even the orbits are the same, and all of the orbits are in sacred geometry to relationship to each other. So you can pick Mars, and you can pick the Earth, for example, and they move in a 5-pointed star. Perfect in this pattern to each other. And seeing that, you begin to realize that it's not just the plants and the flowers and the crystals and things, the larger stuff, everything. All the relationships are mathematically connected to each other. And when you see this, it isn't just a coincidence, and it's all mathematics, and you can see it and prove it. And when you do that, when you actually, after you, this is what happened with me. It took me 12 years. I was 12, 13, 14 years. I was studying this stuff. And then one day, I mean, I kept, is this really true? Is this really true? Is it really? There's only one spirit and one person, consciousness that created all this. But after 14 years of looking at thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of relationships, I remember coming to this place where I go, it is. This is really true. And when I did, this thing happens between your left and right brain. It took me a while to understand what was going on. But the left and right brain link together. The corpus callosum opens up in a certain way. And your brain begins to function differently, not in a polarity way, but on a way where you know there's only one spirit. It's not believing or guessing or hoping. You know that. And as soon as you know that, it's different. Everything's different after that.